I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. The air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. And we sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman, because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls, children of all ages, dogs, cats, and politicians. Hope you're doing well. We are doing fantastic here. It's been a busy day of politics and meetings and happenings and things going on. And remember just a few days ago when we were talking about nothing and laughing and having a good time during the calm before the storm? Whew, where did that time go? I knew it. I knew when it hit, I would be beckoning back and longing for those quiet minutes, hours, because the shit has officially hit the fan here, ladies and gentlemen, in the political season, and we are now running 1,000 miles a minute, 24 hours a day, and I guess we're supposed to like it. Hey, if you could do us a favor and tickle your little fingers across your screen and help us feed the algorithm, we would greatly appreciate it. And the only way that I have found to be able to feed the algorithm is to hit that like button. It is a hungry bastard, and all I need you to do is to click on that. Man, she put it up and then put it down. What happened there? Did you not want it up there? You just want it up there for a second? Click that. Do that thing.
It was a hint. Talk faster.
No, we don't have no speed. No speed here. You if I do that, then it would throw out of the whack, putting it in the 2x speed. It would throw it all off. So all right. Hey, folks, we've got a lot to get to today. Ring that bell and we'll get on with it. Here's the thing. We just got done with the third and final Donald Rainwater Town Hall Forum. And it's a great thing. Go back and listen to that. I will get that up on Rumble. I will get the other two forums up on Rumble. There are a total of 3 of them. If you're interested in listening to Rainwater answer 8 to 10 questions from Hoosiers like yourself out there, if you're interested in hearing from him, I believe he answered 8 to 10 questions in the first one. And then in the second one, he answered again, like another 9 or 10. So there's 20. And then I believe he answered 9 questions tonight. Plus he gave opening statements and closing statements. And it's all really well worth the listen. Oh, Donald Rainwater. Holy crap. All right. So here's the deal, folks. We've got national politics that we need to be worrying about. We've got local politics that we need to be worrying about, local government that we've got to be worrying about, and state politics that we need to be worrying about. As far as the local government goes, we've got a Muncie City Council Finance Committee meeting that we need to dissect. We have a Muncie Redevelopment Commission meeting that we need to dissect. We're going to do that one of the days this weekend. We're going to probably look at doing the Muncie meetings tomorrow. I got to talk to Kate about that, but that would be something of interest that we might take a look at doing. We're also going to play for you guys, and we're going to talk about it and just have a discussion here. The Kamala Harris, Brett Baer interview that occurred yesterday, and I'm thinking about taking a stab at doing that tomorrow. We can take a look at everything because she went about 30 minutes, and then what I got to do with the Muncie stuff is right at about 30 minutes. So that should make up a pretty good show for tomorrow. Today, though, we do have to talk about this deal with Rainwater, and as promised, I do have a pre-recorded interview for you all with Micah Beckwith. So we're going to play that, and we're going to let you guys hear that. We're going to do that here in just 1 second. I do want to remind you that this is a pre-recorded interview. So if you're putting up questions on the screen, don't think that Micah can see or that he can answer or that I can interject. You'll have to tell yourself, matter of fact, we will put up, that's probably true, Alva. We will put up on the screen a little thing up there. I've already got it ready already, letting you know that it's pre-recorded. So we'll put that up there. I'm going to do my best to not stop this interview and let it play through. But I am going to have things to say on the back end. So if you want to take notes, make notes. Or if you have comments that you want me to answer, maybe put it up there and put an asterisk in it. And Kate can star that, or we can star that. And then we can do that on the back end. So I'm not going to stop this interview once we start it. I will talk about everything at the back end. And so we're going to talk about that. But for those of you that are tuning in, we're also going to do a little bit of commentary about this thing with Rainwater and what was going on with the Kendall and Casey show today. Just absolutely nuts what's going on there. And talk about all of this a little bit further in detail. So sit back, relax, and let's prepare for this Bilbrey and Beckwith interview. This was pre-recorded at 9 a.m. Wednesday, October 16th. So this was yesterday morning. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here is that interview. Micah, how you doing?
Good. It's good to see you, man. How's everything going?
Going well. Going well.
Good.
You must really be just going crazy, running wild. We're what, 20 days left?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bored. I could probably do a few more things. So.
Right. Well,
no, it's been going well. Yeah, we're crisscrossing the state all over. It's been the honor of a lifetime. I mean, meeting so many amazing people on the road. That's what I love about it. Just talking to people, talking about life and culture and faith and politics and how it all sort of intertwines. And it's that's right up my alley. I really, really enjoy it.
Absolutely. Well, and that's one of the things that, a lot of times you'll get candidates who rightfully so are coming from all walks of life. That's how it's supposed to be. And you've got good candidates that have got good ideas, or good candidates that think that they can work well with others. But sometimes public speaking is not everybody's forte. And even when somebody's good at political strategy and doing the whole political game, they're still not good at public speaking. But that's not something that you really have an issue with, because in your day job, your normal routine, you public speak for a living, as a calling, more I guess we should say, as a preacher. And so you're good in that department. Do you find that people say that you talk too much? I get that a lot.
I mean, yeah, I have a tendency, and I very quickly can monopolize a conversation. I have to, I think people that are good at talking or know what they know and know why they know it, I think we have to be careful not to basically steamroll.
Yes.
We have to learn to listen, right? So you kind of have to. I go into situations as like, okay, I'm always trying to catch myself if I tend to be talking too much. I start to ask, learning how to ask good questions. That's a skill set, and so I feel like I bring that to the campaign. I bring that to my when I preach too. If I'm out in the lobby talking to people after service or whatnot, I tend to ask a lot of questions just to see what's going on in their life and see what we can do to help, and how I could potentially link arms with them and help them discover who they are in the Lord, and help them be all they can be. So I just take that same concept and that same idea into the world of politics. But yeah, you got to be careful. I mean, you guys like you and I, when we do a lot of talking, it's easy to think that we're not talking a lot. And then my wife will be like, you talked way too much.
That's funny. Well, so straight off the bat, let me ask you, the last time you were here was basically just like a day or two after the big nomination, after you were nominated to be the candidate for lieutenant governor back in June. And so it's been a lot going on between then and now. What's different? How are you feeling compared to the last time we spoke? I mean, where's your head, and how's everything going compared to last time?
Yeah, no, it's really good. It's been a whirlwind, right? I mean, from the convention to now, I've been on the road a lot, shaking hands with people. Our team and Mike Braun's team working really well together, really from day one. I mean, Mike and his team have been super welcoming. Mike's a guy that believes in the process, and obviously he didn't pick me to be his running mate, but when the delegates spoke, he embraced it. And so there really is. I know the media is trying to make it out as in some like there's a rift or division between the Braun team and the Beckwith team, and there's not really. I mean, not at least that I'm aware of. I mean, they maybe in the inner circles that I don't know about, maybe they're upset, but I don't get a hint of that whatsoever. Everything's been very, very open. They've been keeping us in the loop on messaging and what they're getting ready to put out. They've been asking our opinion on platform issues, things like that. And so they'll send it over to us, before it goes public, say, put your eyes on this, run it by your team, tell us what you think. We'll give our feedback. They'll take it. They'll use it. Sometimes they won't use it, but either way, it's been a really good, just a good working relationship. So, and I think the people are really loving the ticket. I think you got this seasoned veteran business owner, very efficient minded guy like Mike Braun, who's going to bring those business prowess into the world of government. And they like that. And then you got me, that's kind of this young gun, passionate, social warrior, right? Standing up for the moral and the decency of our society. And, kind of the basic God-given liberties, fighting for those. I've been doing that for a long time. And so I think people really do like the team that has been formed here. And so it's been going really, really well. I'm pretty much every front that I can think of.
That leads me to the next question, and that's pretty important. You guys being a team, how frequently do you, I mean, how frequently do you guys communicate? And, how frequently are you guys, together? Do you guys, are you guys are you communicating with him one-on-one on a daily basis? Is it every couple of days? Is there a lot of communication there? Is there, where are you at there?
A lot of communication between our teams. So our teams are in constant communication a lot. So whether I'm talking to Mike or like his chief of staff, Josh, or they're talking to Sherry, my chief of staff, like it really sort of, we're talking pretty much, I would say, on a almost daily basis. Mike and I will probably communicate once a week, at least, like a phone call, 30 minutes. I think we're both pretty much thinking the same thing. I think we realized very quickly that we're kind of cut from the same cloth when it comes to sort of the way we think and ideology. And so it's not like we have to, it's not like we have to be on the phone every day to kind of get clarity with one another. I kind of know, his vision and where he's thinking and what he's doing. And I think he gets what I'm thinking and what I'm doing. And then we just kind of, we got our schedules, right? So he's one place in the state, I'm one place in the state. But then we'll have events that are together. So last night we were together at the Indiana GOP state dinner. So that was great. He spoke, I spoke. It was a great event. Lou Holtz was there. Fantastic turnout. We raised the most for the GOP that we've ever raised in the history of that dinner. I mean, just a really lot of energy. But then we'll be on the bus tour together this weekend and in the next couple weekends. So Mike and I will be jumping on a bus with a bunch of supporters and people that want to come out to these bus stops and see us at the rally are welcome to do so, and ask us all the hard questions. And I think that's the thing. Mike and I both, we don't shy away from questions. I mean, we'll jump into really pretty much any studio, whether it's a friend or foe, and we'll take questions. That's what I appreciate about him. He does not hide from the hard issues, and nor do I. So it's been really good.
Well, okay. That's good. And it's good to know that there's, communication between you guys, and that you guys are, it's not just like, well, okay, we talk to him like once a month and, he does this thing and we do our thing. So
I actually think
to know.
In Mike's defense, I think I'm probably the one that drops the ball more on communicating because he will tell me, he's like, hey, we let's be talking once every 2 to 3 days, and it'll be like 4 days, and I'll be like, oh man, I need to call him, right? And
right.
We just get so busy, right? But
Sure.
I think he really wants to probably communicate more than I just gotta discipline myself to actually carve out time and be like, okay, call my running mate. I need an alarm. This is like, call your running mate. So
well, and so that leads us into where I was going next. So obviously, you and I don't know each other. We've only talked a handful of times. In my opinion, we share a lot of the same beliefs, very, very similar beliefs. I am a Christian. I consider myself a constitutionally minded, conservative. I have a hard time saying Republican. Being from the state of Indiana, I'm very disappointed in the Republican Party, both on the local level, state level, really on a federal level as well. I feel like the Republican Party in a lot of ways have left a lot of people here, specifically in Indiana, where we have a super majority of Republicans. I always tell people that in a lot of ways, if you're mad at a politician in Indiana, chances are it's a Republican. And so people really need to take a look at that. So you and I have a lot of beliefs that are very similar. And when you won, and when we had you on the first time, I was definitely happy. I'm excited that you just I understand that you guys are a team, and that you guys are now a package, kind of running team. And I understand that, but at the time, your win was very much a beating back the establishment, and it was a win for the grassroots effort, and and that was all fantastic. And then I will say, obviously, and I don't know if you remember how things went or not, but after we had you on, you and I hadn't really communicated, and there were a couple things on social media I was asking or whatnot. and you had actually said, hey, like we need to, get back together, get connected. I guess my question is, from my point of view, I guess I'll just say it. I feel like, in the primary, in for candidates, when they run in a primary, they're running to the base, and then in the general election, you're kind of running wide open. And my question to you is, do you feel that you have had what tends to happen in Indiana politics is if somebody wins or someone is in a position like you are in that the establishment is not happy with, that what they tend to do is they try to envelope you and really kind of like test you to see where you stand. Do you feel like you have had not from Mike's team so much, but from the Republicans around the state, do you feel that you have had that they have been pushing against you? Do you feel that they have welcomed you? How do you feel like that has played?
Well, to my face, it's always been pretty welcoming, right? Like, I mean, I haven't found anyone that's bold enough to really come at you personally. That's usually like normally what happens in the world of politics is you'll have some adversaries in the Republican Party, and they'll talk about you behind your back, and it will get back to you. And you kind of know those people that are, they smile at you and shake your hand in person, but then will stab you in the back when you kind of turn away. And I think that's life. That's not just the Republican Party. That's, that's probably that's just life, right? That's you go all the way back to Cain and Abel, right? I think that's just human nature, unfortunately. But it's been pretty welcoming. I've had some great meetings with some senators that I'll be working within the Senate there. Being the president of the Senate, the lieutenant governor, that's one of the responsibilities, and so they've been very welcome. I met with Senator Rod Bray, and just picked his brain a little bit. He was asking me questions, and so no one's really pushing back. I think, to your point, though, in the primary, what we always see, and this has always been frustrating to me, is you have somebody that runs very conservative, will be bolder than than Daniel in the lion's den, right? Like they'll go in and they'll just be like, I am so conservative, I'm so bold, I'm so this and that. And then they win the primary and then they dial it back. And I'm kind of like, I get the strategy. To me, I understand the strategy. Like you're running to the moderates, you're trying to get those independent voters to cross over. But my philosophy is always like, listen, I don't want to govern and from a lie, from a place of like, I kind of told you a little bit about who I was, but not really. I want you to know, if you're voting for me, this is who you're going to get. And I don't have to then worry about it for 4 years. Oh, what did I tell like the general population that I would do? I just am who I am, right? And I do what I do. I know what I know, and I know why I know it. And I'm not going to shy away from that. And certainly I've said some things I would imagine that the establishment and probably the long-standing traditional Republicanite doesn't like. They're like, oh my goodness, like, that's so divisive, and it's really not divisive. I made the pronoun comment, a few weeks ago, right? Where I just, we were talking about the deep state and how leftists embed themselves into an unelected bureaucratic position, and then they stop conservative politicians who get elected by the people. And they were asking me, they said, what can we do about that? I said, well, you got to find out who those people are that are usurping the will of the elected official, because that's usurping the people. And they said, well, how do you do that? I said, well, great example to find out who someone is that doesn't agree with us ideologically is look at their email signature. If they have pronouns in their email signature, they probably aren't in alignment with us. And that those could be people that are intentionally trying to stop the will of the people we all know there's a deep state. We see it in Washington. We see it at the state of Indiana. You have unelected bureaucrats who think they know better than the people, and they embed themselves in the system to stop what the people want to do through the elected officials. And so I'll say things like that, and then people will be like, oh my goodness, like, why do you say that? But really, honestly, even in that case, I'll be honest, most of the time I say things like that, and I get more people who will text me and be like, okay, you got my vote now, right? Like, that's what we wanted. We wanted boldness. We wanted courage. We wanted someone to stand up and call out the nonsense in the room, to put on their big boy pants and just actually address the elephant in the room, which it seems like most politicians will always skirt the issue. And so what I bring is a little bit of a breath of fresh air, because I don't skirt the issue. We tackle the issue head on. We trust that if we're open and honest with one another, truth will win the end of the day. It's not my truth. It's not your truth. It's the truth. If I'm wrong, I want to know I'm wrong, but you have to have these open and honest conversations so that people can bring truth into the forum, and then truth will win. And so that's sort of my philosophy. And to your point earlier about being totally disenfranchised or dissatisfied with the Republican Party in Indiana, I'm right there with you. I'm running for that reason. And here's what I've realized is it's not Republican principles that I have an issue with. Republican principles are constitutional principles.
Yes.
And I'm a constitutionalist, just like you are. It's the people who have been driving the Republican ship for a long time. That's the problem. They really aren't Republican in a lot of ways. And we see that in states like Indiana, where you have a supermajority party system. And you know there are Democrats in the Republican Party who do not subscribe to any of the Republican principles, but they're there because they know the Republicans are the party of power. And then they start to turn the Republicans away from Republican principles more towards Democrat socialist principles. And that's how and literally there was a Democrat initiative this last primary where they ran billboards saying Democrats vote in Republican primaries and get really soft or fake Republicans elected, because then they'll be in office and then we can actually turn Indiana more Democrat using the Republican mechanisms of power. So I've actually taken more shots over my political life, not from the Democrat Party, but from the Republican Party. Just so you know, Christopher, I got kicked out of the Hamilton County Republican Party in 2020 because I was speaking out against the lockdown, speaking out against what then Governor Holcomb, the Republican governor, was doing. And my party in Hamilton County, the party chair at the time, who's no longer the party chair, but she told me, she said, there's not a place for you in the party because you've been critical of Republicans. I said, I'm critical of Republicans because they're acting like Democrats, and I will always do that. And so, I got my hands slapped, but I know how the system works. I know how the game is played. I just didn't go away. And that's my encouragement to anyone. If you ever get a chairman or some political elitist that tells you you're done, we're kicking you out, they can't. Just don't go away. Show up to the meetings.
Yeah.
And then you'll gain more influence than them if you just stay consistently engaged, and then you will be running the party before long. And so that's really that's what we need. We need good people who stay engaged and don't let the elitists bully you out of the sandbox.
Yeah. Okay, and so you brought it up there, so that's a good place. I was going to bring it up a little bit later, but that's a good place to jump into it. So the pronoun situation. I don't think that anybody probably listening was confused about where you stood with that. I think everyone pretty much knew, okay, this is what you thought. What's interesting to me is, first of all, number one, a couple weeks ago there was the big hubbub over Braun and the campaign running the ad with the sign, the sign ordeal with you guys' opponent, and the sign being changed. In my opinion, I didn't see such a big deal about it. To me, that's political satire. It is what it is. That's one of those things I actually fought against House Bill 1133 for that very reason, because people like myself use political satire to make points, and now you got to put a disclaimer in, or people's feelings are hurt, or you're going to get sued. And I think that was crazy. And I thought it was crazy that there was such a hubbub about that. And then I kind of thought it was handled very bizarrely. But one of the things, your good friend, Rob Kendall from 93.1 WIBC, talked about that being, kind of a misstep on Braun's behalf. Just something he didn't need to do. You're already way ahead, yada, yada, yada. And, just kind of a misstep in how that was handled. My question is, do you now look back and see the comment about the pronoun thing? Do you see that as kind of being the same thing? Do you wish that didn't happen? You wish you would have done that differently? Was there, my opinion, I guess my question is, I get what you're saying, and I agree. Like, that's a thing that we shouldn't be dealing with. And I very much agree with what you're saying. My question is, aren't there more important things that we need to be worrying about? First off, and second of all, are you concerned about the possibility of the First Amendment violations and whatnot going on in there? I mean, what's your thoughts about that?
Well, I think maybe we disagree on what's most important, right? Like certainly the biggest issue that Mike Braun and I are focusing on are the kitchen table issues of your pocketbook, right? Like that's got to be, we got to address that. The Biden Harris, economic dumpster fire that they've created has to be addressed. And so we're going to do that in the state of Indiana. We're going to trim back the fat of government, make government run more efficiently, because every family in Indiana has to run more efficiently. We're not going to keep spending like there's no tomorrow. I think that drives Mike up the wall when he sees that. It drives me up the wall when I see that really just a non-fiscal conservative ideology that tends to happen in state or local government. And it's all of us. It's not pointing the finger at one entity or one unit of government. It really is. It's every unit. One of the first things I'm going to do when I get into office is trim back 2% of the LG's budget. 2% is not a lot, but it's going to show that and you can't change the budget on your own. I understand that that's the legislature, but we're just not going to spend 2% off the top. We're going to give it back, or it'll just be there, but we're not going to spend it, because we're going to show the agencies, we're going to show the government, hey, you can do this. You can tighten your belt. You got 4 people for one job. Why don't you cut back and just have one person for one job? I think that's what we're going to do. I know Mike's thinking that way too. He's going to like, with a fine tooth business acumen comb, he's going to go through each agency and trim that away. So those are really the main issues. But I will also say there is a underlying concern that I think all of us have. Mike has it. I have it. I think you would have it, Kristopher, too, is the moral nonsense or the immoral nonsense and the moral decay that is happening within our culture. So you bring up the pronouns, right? Like, that's just nonsense. 5 years ago, if I would have told you we were doing this, every single person, left and right, would say that's dumb. Why are we doing this? But here we are pushing this nonsense. And at the same time, look what's happening. The mental health illness crisis is going up and up and up. Well, why is that? Because we keep feeding our children nonsense like, hey, you could have pronouns like Z, Zer, Zem, whatever that means. But yeah, I'm sure that's real. You know what I mean? I'm sure it's real. And then you wonder, well, why don't they have a grasp on reality? Well, because we've been feeding them this poison. And so until our political leaders stand up and say enough is enough, like this is absolute nonsense. Now, I don't care if you're left or right, or if you have different ideologies. I mean, that's fine. If you work in government, you're free to have whatever belief you want to have, but you got to do the job. And I think that's where people are saying, like, we got to have a grasp on reality. And we're battling, really the battle here. The fundamental battle is truth. I mean, I'm just going to say it, like, the left is throwing truth out the window. They're saying there is no truth. Your truth is relevant. It is your truth, and everyone else's truth doesn't really matter. And so it's all whatever you believe is the truth. Let me give you an example. It's a story, and I don't mean to again monopolize the conversation here. Like I said, I wouldn't do. But this is when it fundamentally hit me. We have a real big problem. A few years ago, I sat down with a superintendent of a school system that we were looking at potentially putting our kids into. My youngest son at the time was 4. And I went to her and I said, hey, I need to know how you define good and evil, because you're the highest authority over this entire public school system in our community. And she sat back in her chair and she said, well, I don't know if I've ever really had that question asked to me. I said, and first of all, it's a red flag. Like, how do you not know good and evil, right?
Right.
And so we got into a little bit of the transgender issue that's been going on. And I said, I don't want my son or my daughter walking into a bathroom where there's a boy or a girl using the wrong bathroom. And, you never know what's going to happen in those situations. I don't want my daughter having to compete against male athletes in her sports, right? I believe there is a distinct difference between male and female. God made them very different. And so I need to know, like, what do you do in that situation? And her response was, well, Micah, not every family believes the way that you believe. She said, I have a little girl named Molly who's in 3rd grade, and her parents and this little girl want to be a boy. They want her to be a boy. And so now they want her to be Matthew. And so what am I supposed to do as the superintendent of the schools? I can't tell them that they can't do that, because that's their truth. And I said, okay, fine. We'll play that game. We'll play that game. And oh, by the way, just so you know, in my household, in the Beckwith household, we believe that 2 + 2 = 5. That's our truth. That is our truth. And we're going to put our son into your kindergarten next year. And we want your teachers to affirm us and affirm him in that belief that 2 + 2 = 5. So please don't tell him the old antiquated racist math theory of 2 + 2 being 4, because that's outdated. We believe it's 5. And if you don't teach him that, then we're going to sue you. We're going to write letters to the editor saying how bigoted and intolerant and unwelcoming your school system is to our family. We feel super unloved because you're not carving out a space for our family to believe what we believe. I said, so you'll do that, right? And she chuckled and she sat back in her chair and she said, well, Micah, that's math. And I said, all due respect, biology is science. And knowing that you will not take a stand for truth is incredibly concerning. And I went home and I told my wife, I said, we cannot send our children into that public school system because they don't know the basic tenets of truth that are rooted in just reality. And if you're not willing to defend, and to her credit, she's a good woman, and I know she knows. And she actually told me in that meeting, she said, Mike, I'm just trying to get to next year. I'll have my 30 years in, and then I'm retiring. And sure enough, that's what she did. So she knew what was right and wrong. She just didn't have the will to fight for it. Yeah. And so that's what I see as the most critical issue of our day. And I know some political people will probably say, oh, well, that's social. That's a social issue. We just need to focus on economics. You can't build an economic house on a morally decaying foundation. Look at Indianapolis. Why are businesses leaving Indianapolis? Because of the moral decay of that city. Family breakdown, crime is through the roof. People don't know up from down. They don't know how to respect and love their neighbor as themselves because we have pushed everything that is good and virtuous out the window. And then we think, well, we can still have the goodness that comes with virtue without having the virtue. It doesn't work that way.
Sure. I mean, I agree.
I get it. Yeah.
I agree with what you're saying. And I see where you're coming from there. And I definitely, morally, religiously, spiritually, I'm there. I get what you're saying, and I get where you're coming from. Constitutionally, I'm very concerned about the First Amendment, and I understand how that's an issue there. And I've heard, the things that you've said. I guess there's a couple things you said. Well, obviously, there's been a couple. I think you had a quote in the Indy Star where you're like, well, we would talk with HR, and there's other issues. This is just be something I'd look at. Which, look, in Indiana, you can look at all things for why a person.
Well, the point was, do your job, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Do your job.
Right.
Like we're a meritocracy, right? If you're not doing your job and you're stopping the will of the people from happening,
right?
Again, it's the deep state. The deep state is the unelected bureaucrats. And so, that's if you're not doing your job and you're trying to push your own political agenda as a unelected bureaucrat, we're going to find you and we're going to root you out and we're going to get rid of you. Yeah.
That now that I very much agree with. Yeah. That leads me into my next part of this, because I did listen to the actual quote from where you were at that. I don't know if it was a breakfast or a lunch or a dinner or something, but you were talking to that group, and I did listen to the whole thing. And one of the things that really really kind of shocked me was the idea that you were talking about with the deep state. Listen, I very much believe and agree that there's a deep state. I very much believe that we are currently where we stand in the world today, as a citizen of Muncie, Delaware County, as a Hoosier, as an American, as a person on the planet, as a Christian. I believe that we are fighting a spiritual fight. I believe that we are fighting good versus evil. I very much believe that. Politically, I believe that there is definitely a deep state, the cabal, and Illuminati, whatever you want to call these people. I believe that there. I
think sometimes too we got to be careful that we don't fall into conspiracy theory traps.
Sure.
But to me, the deep state is really the bureaucratic machine.
Absolutely.
I mean, you look at the EPA. right?
Yeah.
The EPA creating rules, which
Yep.
then really are laws, but
Yep.
they're not elected lawmakers.
Right.
You know, that to me is the deep state, and that's
Yep.
the problem. We have these agencies that will create rules that then force us to live a certain way that our elected officials would have never in a million
Sure.
years voted for.
Sure.
And that's really, I think, at the surface. Now, I'm sure there's nefarious, you know, you got the World Economic Forum, you got the Klaus
Yep.
Schwabs of the world. I do
Mhm.
not trust them any further than I could throw them, right?
Yep.
And so certainly we got to be wise as serpents and innocent as doves.
Yep.
But but I think just on face value, like when I'm talking about the deep state, I'm talking
Mhm.
about the bureaucratic tyranny that has been created
Sure.
by unelected bureaucrats.
Sure.
So,
Well, and yeah, I mean, I very much see. So I'll tell you, in my mind, I very much include the Indiana Economic Development Corporation in there. For my perspective, I very much consider the HRCC to be a problem and an issue there that I think that constitutionally minded citizens need to be wary of. I mean, I think the HRCC helps basically if you as a citizen wanting to run for the state house, if you don't have the support of the HRCC, you're not getting elected. You know, they're throwing hundreds of thousands of dollars at candidates and doing all of this, and so there's a lot there. My concern was that you threw out the idea of this leftist type of ideology in the state of Indiana. While I'm sure that there probably are folks on the left that are involved with this, I think there's a whole lot of people on the right that we need to weed out of the way too. Do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
Agree with that?
No, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think,
Okay.
I think it's a both and. I actually said that in, you know, I was doing an interview with the Indy Star the other day, which, by the way, just, you know, whenever you read the Indy Star, just, you know, only believe 1% of it and then throw the rest of it out.
Thank you for telling me that.
But, you know, like I said, I talk to anybody and everybody. Sure. I don't shy away from interviews. Yes, we have that issue on both sides of the aisle. And I even said in the Star, I said, this deep state issue, if we were a Democrat supermajority state and we had Republican bureaucrats who were unelected employees that were doing the same thing to stop the will of the people on that end, I would call it out too. This isn't a Republican or Democrat issue. This is a not respecting the rule of law issue. This is not respecting the Constitution issue. This is not understanding your place and your authority within the grand scheme. We all have a place. We all live under authority. Everyone's under authority, right? Sure. Even Jesus submitted himself to the authority of the Father. And so you have to know your limits. You have to know your boundaries, and, you know, love him or hate him. That's why one of the things I really respect about our Attorney General, Todd Rokita, I have seen him in multiple settings in these public forums where people are saying, why don't you just do this? Because conservatively, it would be the best thing to do. And he said, because the legislature has not given me the authority to do that. While I would love to do it personally and ideologically, I would love to do what you're asking me to do, but I can't because I don't have the authority to do that per the legislature. And he always comes back. He says, my office was created by the Indiana legislature. They have given me the authority to do X, Y, and Z. I can't go out and start doing A, B, and C, because then what happens when I set a precedent and, God forbid, years down the road, we have a Democrat AG that wants to do A, B, and C when they're only given the authority to do X, Y, and Z. And so that's, you know, I really respect it when I hear people who will kind of put themselves in that box and say, I would love to step outside. I mean, Jesus prayed that prayer. He said, Father, take this cup from me, right? I don't want to go through the cross, but not my will, but yours be done, right? And that's the heart of a true servant leader who gets and understands authority. And so so we have it on both sides right now. Like I said, because I think the Republican Party has been infiltrated in a lot of ways by Democrats who just play the part of, they put an R next to their name. And then, you know, they come in and they don't care about it. Democrats don't care about authority. They don't care about respecting the traditions or the foundations of our republic. They just want to come in and do whatever their socialist utopia, you know, handbook tells them to do. And right. So it's an issue. So I mean, I hit the left hard on that because I see a lot more in Washington from the left. But we have to remember that we also need to hit the right on it as well, because they're doing it here in states like Indiana. So yeah.
And we'll get ready to wrap up here. I know you said you've got to get ready to run to do another appointment, but I do feel like I need to approach this topic with you. Number one, and we can put these things together. Number one, back a couple of months ago, there was a county council meeting in Henry County, and a state representative
I saw it,
stood up and was very I was shocked at what he was saying. He seemed very just against you and your running mates, the property tax plan that Braun had put out, and I feel like what he was saying, from knowing him, and I in fairness, I'll say I have not been able to speak with him. I've tried to contact him a couple times, and we've just missed each other. But I just don't, because he's very new, and I don't believe that he would have just been speaking off the cuff. I feel in my knowledge of him, I think that he was parroting something that he's heard. So my concern with that, number one, is, are you guys working a plan, and are you guys having an issue where you've got members like Todd Houston who's saying, no, we're not doing that, and that's not part of what we're going to be focusing on. So you guys are out here spinning your wheels talking about something that's not going to go anywhere. First of all, are you concerned about that? But second of all, and that brings me into the other point that I definitely wanted to cover with you before you run, is I know that we don't agree on one of the state representatives that you're friends with, Mr. Prescott, and a lot of issues. My concern there, and that brings us back to, I guess, full circle, is a lot of what I have seen specifically from Prescott and others similar is very much this establishment type of ideology. And from my perspective, I'm concerned that it seems as if you have kind of been welcomed into that. And that's concerning, because we've got things where, like I said, Prescott voted against tax cuts for veterans and Hoosier veterans and very other issues, red flag laws and things like that. So how do you...
He voted against red flag laws, or you vote for them?
He voted for red flag laws.
Yeah.
And so, against groups like Purple for Parents and Hoosiers for Life both have strong issues against Mr. Prescott because he voted differently than what he told them that he would. How do you rectify that with where you are? And when we're out praising folks like Mr. Prescott, people from my end see you doing that and are concerned that it's like, wait a minute, has he been sucked into that establishment position?
Yeah, I can tell you right now, I've not been sucked into that. I live by the philosophy of give honor to where honor's due, right? So if someone does something good that I believe in, I give honor to that person for what they've done. If someone does something that I don't believe in, that I don't think is good, then I call them out on it and hold them accountable. When it specifically, let's just take those issues. So the red flag laws, we should have never allowed that to happen in Indiana. That violates due process. If I were in the legislature when that came up, I would have unequivocally and unashamedly stood up and said, we cannot do this because this violates our constitutional rights to due process and also to the Second Amendment. How do you assume somebody is going to be a lawbreaker? That's a really dangerous precedent to set. Yeah. So I'm very opposed to red flag laws. Thomas Jefferson said, I'd rather have dangerous liberty than peaceful slavery. Liberty is very dangerous, right? And we know this. And I know police officers are saying, well, we've got to be protected. Yeah, it's going to be dangerous to be a police officer. It's dangerous to live in the United States because we have liberty. And when people use freedom without virtue, it creates chaos. But when people use freedom with virtue, it creates liberty. And that's why virtue is so important. And that's why I'm running to reinstate virtue into our culture, because you can't have liberty if you don't have virtue. And so that's one issue. On some of the other issues, I would probably disagree with JD as well. I know what the open mics at the the council meetings, right? Just kind of the council meeting kind of stuff. And you know what? You gotta. There's always another argument to one side. There's always another side. JD's got some great reasons for why he does what he does that I don't necessarily disagree with him on the reasoning. I just disagree sometimes with the principle. But again, what I've been talking about JD and why I really appreciate JD is two things. I know his heart. He loves the Lord. He is a conservative. He will play a strategic game. And I think that's what the problem with the grassroots, and I'm grassroots all the way, but here's the issue the grassroots has. We are not strategic. We do not play the long game. We play the blow everything up game. And then we get mad when it doesn't happen. But I'm a student of history. If we would have dropped the atomic bomb on Japan earlier than we did, it would have galvanized the Nazis and the Italians and the Japanese to be stronger. We had to chip away at the Nazi stronghold in Europe, inch by inch, storming the beaches of Normandy, losing for every inch, losing hundreds of men in blood but we took inch by inch by inch. I see the JD Prescott sometimes, those soldiers that stormed the beaches of Normandy, taking inch by inch. And then I see the Hoosiers for life, and I also see the Purple for Parents. They're kind of like the atomic bomb.
That comment
both
is
right?
so
We couldn't have won World War II without both of them. We just had to be strategic.
And every other
in how
soldier
we utilize
that has ever been in
aspects.
combat, comparing JD Prescott to the men who stormed the fields of Normandy, I can't. I want to drop so many F-bombs right now. I can't. I'm sorry. You're muted. I'm sorry for interrupting this, but
no. What I was saying was this. I thought that I've been listening for this because this is the one place that I wanted to break into, and I was going to break into this interview. And I'm gonna get back and let this play here in a second, but we need it. We're gonna talk about this here in a minute. Matter of fact, let's go back because I'll be honest. I tuned out because I was setting up something else. So I want to go back and I want to hear what he said here. Just one more second. Let everybody hear this. Listen to what he says here again.
Sometimes those soldiers that stormed the beaches of Normandy, losing hundreds of men in blood but we took inch by inch by inch. I see the JD Prescott sometimes, those soldiers that stormed the beaches of Normandy, taking inch by inch. And then I see
you see, I laughed there. I laughed there. I laughed there. We got off. That's the very first thing I said to Kate. We got off of the interview and I said, did he just compare JD Prescott to the soldiers that fought and died at D-Day? Like,
he did. He did.
Yeah, I Tweety Bird says my uncle died. He's 100 and flew 35 missions over Germany. Let me tell you, my grandmother's brother, my grandmother that watches this program, her brother died just not too long after D-Day. He was one of the soldiers, amazingly, that made it through D-Day, survived the beaches, and was killed with a group of 4 other young men, was killed trying to hold back an army from a town, from taking over a town. And they have actually put up a monument for this, and it's a big thing. There's been a book published about it. It's called Jason's Helmet. But this dude, for anything good you can say about him or whatnot, and I'm going to play a piece here in a minute. He literally just said that I have not been sucked into the establishment, which is what I asked him. And to be able to, I have no words for that. I have no words for it. JD Prescott.
JD votes for red flag laws.
Yeah.
He brings up 1338 violating First Amendment rights.
Yeah.
He votes against property tax breaks for veterans. You know, the men who actually stormed the beaches of Normandy.
One of his fellow veterans, yes.
They don't get to have tax breaks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he's a Christian and he loves the Lord. So that's just fine.
That's, you know what it sounds like to me? He needs to be a really good church buddy and not an elected official.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, listen to me. I'm really afraid, and I don't know if Kelly's here, and I was just getting ready to say this whole idea, and I just got into an argument with my mom about this earlier. This whole idea of people tuning out of things that we don't like, it's making us all dumber, folks. It's making we cannot say that we are trying to fight this fight and overcome this and make America better and try to bring back civility if we are all just scurrying off to our little corners, our little rat's nests, and listening to our echo chambers. That is not doing it. That is not doing it. We have to listen to the things that we disagree with. We have to be able to stand up and argue against these and fight. And where what we've got to learn to do is be able to walk away disagreeing, agree to disagree, and to be able to fight and to argue, and then be able to at least have a respect for another human being to say, okay, we totally disagree. We're fine. We've said our piece. But to just say, no, I'm bowing out of the argument ahead of time because I can't stand to hear it. We've got to get away from that point of view because that's causing us to.
And I know that I'm sorry for jumping in, Kristopher.
No, you're fine.
Because
no, I was going to bring this up.
I was listening to this while you were interviewing him.
Mm-hmm.
And I was down in the duck and I was just listening. And he said that. And I got up and I left the room because I knew you were trying to conduct, as you said, a respectful interview with this man.
Mm-hmm.
And if I would have stayed, I would have jumped in and I would have jumped down his throat.
Yeah,
and the dropping the bomb crap got me too. I was like, we didn't even test the bomb until July of 1945.
Yeah.
That's 15 months after we declared war in Europe. Done. So your analogy there is crap too.
And listen, I'm going to tell you guys, here's the thing. I'm going to start doing this. And I make this pledge to you guys. I make this pledge right now because I feel bad.
You were nice.
That
Son?
I allowed that to go and I didn't challenge that. I feel bad because here's the thing. I saw that. I did
include my pronouns in honor of him.
Yeah, yes, right. Yeah, right. Yeah. I get a bad rap from folks, political officials, because I'm mean and I treat people, I call people out or whatever. But I've never done that in an interview. I've always been polite in the interview because I'm in the back of my mind, in my head, saying, oh, I need to appease these people to get them on. I make a pledge to you that this is the last time I do that. That I'm not going to do that anymore. I feel like I failed you guys. I failed myself because in this moment, I'm listening to this and I laugh. I chuckle when he says that. I'm like, are you, in my mind, I'm thinking, I mean, you can go back, you can see I'm paused to laughing. I'm like, are you for real? You literally just compared J.D. Prescott to soldiers? Like, I'm going to cut it and make it a short. It's
not
just
laughable. Not just soldiers.
No, yeah, the men.
But storming the beaches of Normandy
when
they are under incredible fire, and 1 in 5 didn't make it off the beach.
Yeah. J.D. Prescott is like that. We give honor where honor is due. Horse shit. So I make this.
Then what honor has he earned, please?
Yeah, right.
Because I would love to know what he has done that has helped my pocketbook, helped support my rights, protect my children.
Listen,
and
I'm
their rights. Because I can't think of one damn thing.
I'm embarrassed.
I can think of lots of things that he's done that violated my rights and helped line a lot of people's pockets.
You're right. And
You're protected his own power.
You're right. And I'm gonna tell you, I was too focused on a mission. I needed to get out another question. There's one question. It's the end question that I asked him at the very end. We're getting ready to get to it. And I was so focused on that I said, to hell with everything else. I sold out. And I'm actually embarrassed. I'm going to tell you, this has been the least enjoyable program probably that I've ever put out, because I think he's a fraud and a phony.
And I didn't call him a phony at the same time.
What?
And you were being a fraud and a phony at the same time.
And I was,
by not
absolutely.
Calling him out.
Because I didn't call him out. I absolutely sold out because I wanted to get the question at the end. I wanted to get this last question, which I thought he was going to say something different on. And honestly, we're going to talk about the redevelopment meeting tomorrow. I think maybe you came in too late. We're going to do the redevelopment meeting tomorrow. We'll do that for Fridays. We are going to come on live tomorrow. We're going to do the Muncie stuff all tomorrow. But yeah, I suck about that, but I will tell you, I will keep this up, and I will roll through this, and we'll just let this be but my promise to you is, to hell with ever interviewing again. I'll just be a commentator. And if everybody says, well, he's mean or whatever, then it'll just be that. But I will not ever do this again, because this is, for me, this is embarrassing. And I hate that it's like that, because I'm really worried about some of the stuff, and we're going to talk about that at the end. Let's get back to this. And we'll talk more about this on the flip side. All right, here we go. No, you're fine. You did great. I just wasn't listening at that moment. I was going to do this at the end, but no, I'm glad. I'm very happy. All right, here we go, folks.
And I see the Hoosiers for life, and I also see the Purple for Parents. They're kind of like the atomic bomb. And guess what? We needed both, right? We couldn't have won World War II without both of them. We just had to be strategic in how we utilize both of those aspects. And so what I see often is that the atomic bomb group will shoot the inch by inch, the incrementalists, and then the incrementalists will shoot back. And now we've got our guns turned on each other when we really should be, fighting on both fronts. And so that's really strategically, grassroots is terrible at strategy. And again, I'm saying that out of love, because I am grassroots, and I own that, and that's what I'm trying to help bring to the grassroots community is strategy, long-term game, like play in the first quarter, not just at the end of the fourth quarter. And because the Democrats are very good at that, they play the whole game. They've been playing the socialists, Marcuse, Angela Davis, CRT, they started in the 50s.
Yeah,
to do what. So anyway, so all that to say. And then going back to this, I think you were referencing what Corey Criswell there and I like Corey. I've met him a couple times. I think he's a good guy. You're right. I think he is parroting probably what he's hearing from leadership. And that's okay. I'm not upset that he stood up and said, hey, the Braun Beckwith plan on property taxes is not going to work in any way, shape, or form. We're not going to let it work. That's fine. The legislature can fight it all day long. What our plan is to lay out something good, something that we think is going to work, put it before the legislature and put it before the people, right? And trust me, if the people like it, then the leadership of the House and the Senate, they will get in line. That's how you win. You don't have to win the hearts and minds in the halls of 200 West Washington. You have to win the hearts and minds of the people in this state. And that's what I'm good at. So if they want to battle us on property taxes, that's fine. Bring your best. We'll go to the people. You'll go to the people. We'll let the people decide. And I'm very confident that when we lay it out, why we need to address the property tax issue and how we're going to do it, the people are going to side with us every single time. There's not. It's only going to be the government elitists that want their money from the people so that they can keep buying these big shiny objects. Those are the only people that are going to be against us on this. The people, they want their taxes to come down big time, and property taxes are killing Hoosiers around the state. This is one of the most talked about issues on the campaign trail I see all over the state. Do something about our property taxes. Farmers, just so you know, and farming is the economic backbone of our state, their property taxes from last year to this year, according to the Farm Bureau, went up 26% on their farmland. That's insane, and it cannot be sustainable. It will not be sustainable, and Mike Braun and I are not going to let this destroy our farmers and our families. We're going to fight for them every single time. We'll take it to the people, and we'll win.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I appreciate your time, appreciate you coming on and talking with us. I know that you've got to get ready to run. I know you've got 20 some days. It's going to be hectic. Hey,
can I say this real quick too?
Yeah.
One last thing. Is that all right?
Yeah.
So I know there's a lot of libertarians that are watching right now. I know, Christopher, you're on the libertarian kind of side of things. This race is close.
Christopher, you're muted.
I know. I did it again. So, all right, folks, this is what it's about. When he started contacting me back a month and a half ago, wanting to come back on the show, this is what it was all about, folks. This is what it was all about. So, for everyone telling you, and now listen to me, we recorded this interview at 9:00. I did not know about the rainwater attack ad. While we're sitting here and he's talking about virtues and being morally superior, he knew about that attack ad. All right? So understand when he's sitting there talking about being virtuous and being morally superior, understand that he was aware of that attack ad and know what you're getting ready to hear. He's getting ready to say his plea, and then you're going to hear my question to him. Listen to this right here. For everyone that says, oh, rainwater's not anywhere close, that's a joke. For even for Mr. Kendall, who's like, it's not close, it's not anywhere close. Listen to what the second banana says.
Closer than probably most people realize. I think a lot of people think that a vote for Donald Rainwater, whom I like Don. I think he's there's a lot of things that I agree with Don.
Listen again.
Case is closer than probably most people realize. I think a lot of people think that a vote for Donald Rainwater, whom I like Don. I think he's there's a lot of things that I agree with Don on. I think socially, the libertarians run off the rails. They don't fight for virtue like we were talking about. I think they're good on economics and limited government, absolutely. But this is closer than people realize. And Democrats are not going away without a fight. Harris gave Democrats in pretty much every state a 5-point boost because Joe Biden couldn't walk up a flight of stairs. Harris can at least do that. And so now Democrats are like, finally somebody that has a heartbeat, like we can get excited about. And so but what that did, it did rally their base a little bit. Indiana is about a 10-point red state. Okay, so we just on just generic ballot, it's 55% Republican, 45% Democrat. Donald Rainwater could potentially take 10% or give or take of the vote from the Republicans. He's not taking any from the Democrats. I'll tell you that right now. I have not met a Democrat yet that is saying I'm voting for Rainwater and not for the Democrat ticket.
He's
and
not
so,
talking to any Democrats.
So if you chip away at that lead, if you take 7 to 10%, that means the Republicans and Democrats will be running neck and neck, and we cannot afford it. If Democrats get elected and they get the executive branch, they will destroy parent choice in education. They will roll back all of the pro-life activity that we've done, and they'll make abortion a pinnacle virtue of our state. I'm using air quotes there because it's not a virtue.
Right.
But that's what they're going to do. They're going to tax you through the roof. They're going to protect the teachers union they're going to make sure teachers unions run our schools. They're going to destroy jobs. They're going to bring immigrants into our state like they're already fighting for right now. And it's just going to be, we're just going to flood our resources with illegal immigrants that shouldn't be here. And that will be our state. So understand, 2020, when you had Woody Myers as a Democrat running, there's no way Woody Myers couldn't even raise $200,000. Basically, it was a moot point. A vote for Don Rainwater was a protest vote against weak Republican leadership. That's fine. I get that. I understand that. We're not in 2020. This is a different ball game. And so as a libertarian voter, somebody's going to vote for Don Rainwater, just remember, this could be a vote that does spoil the election if you vote for Don Rainwater. And I'm not saying that to try to scare you. I'm just saying,
are you guys really doing the a libertarian vote is a spoiler vote? I mean,
yeah,
you think it's that
100%? Because we've got about 5% of Republicans, and I was one of them. That's been very disenfranchised with the Republicans to the point where they would vote libertarian, right? Like that's what we're seeing. So you bump that up to 10%, you get 3 to 4% of the actual libertarians who are libertarian at their core. Add another 3 to 5% of the Republicans, and you're pushing 8, 9, 10%, and that's the margin of Republican and Democrat right now in our state. So I'm just throwing it out there. Again, vote your conscience. Absolutely. I'm not going to tell you how to vote, but I'm going to say, understand that this could be this is a very different election, and I'm all for holding Republicans accountable, but do it by electing good Republicans. Don't do it by giving Democrats the reins, because that will send us back so far. And we know they are pushing. They're not the Democrat Party of the 80s. This is not Tip O'Neill's Democrat Party. Yeah. This is a Marxist socialist party that wants to indoctrinate the youth of our nation to some sort of socialist utopia that will destroy the republic and the liberty that we have.
Very good. Hey, just as we're walking out the door here, you can answer this with as much or as less as you want. It can just be a yes or a no, or you can say whatever you want to say about this. Did you, Micah Beckwith, work any at all on the JD tax plan, property tax plan? Were you involved with that tax plan and the creation of that? Yes, in the sense that he gave it to me to look over before it was public, right? So I threw out some of my thoughts, and he was very much saying, "Hey, this is what we're thinking." Sat down with him. I sat down with Scott Alexander, a senator from up in your neck of the woods. We talked through a lot of this stuff, and I think it's a good plan. You know what? It is. I will work with anyone as long as it's for good. It's a good purpose. Like, I don't care if you're establishment or not. I don't care if you're doing something good. I'm going to link arms with you, and we're going to get it done for the people of Indiana. And so, do you think you're going to get a good tax plan under Jennifer McCormick? No, you're not going to get a good, right? And again, as much as Don is a friend of mine, he's not going to win. Like, it's just the reality of the situation. So you won't get a tax plan under him because he can't win. And so my thinking is, if I care about getting something done for Hoosiers, I'm not running because I have some grandiose dream to be a politician. This is not my pipe dream. Oh, I can go be a politician. I would much rather not be a politician, be able to stay and do my church work, be just a normal citizen in the community, trusting that my politicians are doing exactly what they need to do, both in the state and in federal government. But they've got to a point where I couldn't sit back anymore, because I saw we were going in the wrong direction. And I can't keep complaining about things if I didn't step up and do something about it.
And so that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I want to get something done. And that's why and I believe in Republican principles. I just think the Republican Party has lost their backbone a little bit. And I think they've lost their way on some of the issues. And so what I'm doing, if you elect me, a vote for Mike Braun is a vote for me, and a vote for me is a vote for Mike Braun. Absolutely, we're a ticket. But if you put me in there as lieutenant governor, you will never have to question whether or not Micah is going to fight for the establishment, machine, or for the people. I am always going to fight for what the people believe and what the people need and what the people are calling for. And if it costs me my job in politics, so be it. Like, that's fine. I'll go back and if the people vote me out and they just say, we don't want you there anymore, fine. I served, I did my part, and now I can go back and do what I actually really like to do. So, it's no skin off my back. I'm doing this because I believe in getting something done for the people. So if you vote for me, if you vote for Mike, you will get a ticket that can win and will get something done for you. So that's my pitch.
Absolutely. Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on with us today. I just, please do me a favor. Whatever goes on. What, did you kill it? Hold on.
I killed it. I'm done listening.
Hold on. We got to hear what he says here. This is when he talks about JD. I get what you're saying. I hear what everyone's saying. I tend to believe that it's just one more vote. I think that we are in a world where we could see Rainwater win. I get what you're saying. I gotta believe. You know what I mean? I'm keeping the belief and the dream alive. But that being said, if you do win, I will always give you the respect to talk to you. Please, please, please don't shut the door. Let's have the back and forth. And I'll tell you, you'll really be doing something if you can. What I would really like to see is if you can get JD willing to talk to me. I would be very interested in that.
I think
that happened.
Listen, I always encourage. I've already encouraged JD to go on the show, right? Like I always
need to come on the show. That is what I think is interesting. Is he says that he's encouraged JD to come on. Now, okay, I had to set through that too. You guys all going crazy and talking about that. Woo! I had to set through that too, and let me tell you, it was more rough for me than it was for any of you, I promise. And because I've got so much going on. We've already been on here for an hour and 17 minutes. All right, so I've got a couple things that I need you guys to hear. All right, first of all, I will go back to the points that the stars that Kate did, and thank you for doing that, Kate. And thank you guys for commenting. Okay, here's very, very, very important. Okay, he says our team, Mike's team, and our team is working really well together. All right, I'm not seeing that. I've not seen that. He talks about how they're cut from the same cloth, and we get what each other is doing and thinking. I can't see how Braun thinks that at all. The only 2 or 3 times that Braun has brought Micah Beckwith up, Braun has only brought Beckwith up 3 times. And all 3 of those times, it has been to either kind of poo-poo something that he said, back away from something that he said, or say, I'm not really caught up. That's not what I'm focused on, and it don't really matter what he does. Okay? That's so I don't believe that's what Beckwith has to say. And so I don't like that he's in a position, and here's the deal. Here's the deal. So wait a minute. Is this a current comment or okay? All right. So, and I don't know if Kelly's still here, but I would really like her input. And I'm look. I'm getting ready. We're going to be. I'm going to be real from here on out. That absolutely totally disgusted me and myself in watching that. And I'm really, really pissed off. And so we're going to be different from here forward, but I'm going to tell you this. I want what's best for Muncie. I want what's best for Delaware County. I want what's best for Indiana. I want what's best for East Central Indiana. I want what's best for America and then the world. Okay, I guess. I consider myself to be a constitutionally minded conservative libertarian. And I have friends that are Republicans. I have friends that are Democrats, and I'm a believer in God. And I can tell you that I am afraid that people are so put out with what they are seeing happen in our state government, which, mind you, is all being done under the banner of the Republican Party. I'm not confused. I know that there are Democrats that have crossed over and ran as Republicans, but it's all being done currently under the banner of the Republican Party. And you have Republican Party chairs in counties that have kept out good, honest, everyday people like Troy Ingram instead to allow people like James King to be in the Republican seat when he's been a Democrat his entire life. And if that's happening here, it's happening in Hamilton County, and it's happening in Marion County, and it's happening in Allen County. It's happening everywhere. That's happening everywhere. And that is how we get in a situation where we have the supermajority, maybe the Republicans, maybe the Democrats, but it's all one power, all under one title, and they're not letting good, everyday, normal citizens run. And so we see someone come forward like Micah Beckwith, who was not originally establishment, was pushed out. They didn't want him. He was too conservative because he wasn't speaking their language. And he won. And I was happy back when he beat McGuire. In my opinion, there's no difference between him and McGuire. There's no damn difference between McGuire and Beckwith sitting in that seat right now. They could be speaking. It's the same thing. It's no difference. He's saying his own thing. That's the only difference. McGuire would have been chained to Braun's hip. The only difference is Mike is out here running around doing what he wants. I'll say this. When Beckwith becomes the lieutenant governor, when Braun wins, I'm going to probably really piss people off that are Beckwith fans, and you're going to distance yourself from me, and that's perfectly fine. You will come back. You will be disappointed in the results that you do not get from Beckwith. I'm telling you that. I'm telling you that for the people that are 100% trusting in Beckwith. First of all, that's crazy. You should not agree with anyone 100% of the time. That's a lie. That is absolutely a lie. All right? It's nuts. So I am really concerned about this establishment thing because J.D. Prescott, Roderick Bray, these people he's mentioning, Scott Alexander, Todd Houston, they are the establishment that those of us that have been pushing against all of this, they're the people we are pushing against. So why is our person it's not about don't liking him. Look, he's friendly to talk to. It's not that I don't like him. This is not about not liking him. This is about knowing who he is sucked up to since June. Listen, when he says, you're still here, Kelly. Does it not offend you to hear him compare J.D. Prescott to soldiers at D-Day? Give honor where honor is due. Now, I want to play something for you here. Because this is very, very important. All right. And I'm gonna take this. This is we're gonna listen to what's said here at 4738. 4738. Let me find this. 4738. All right, we are at 4736. Let me back it up just a little bit more than that. 4700. Okay, I want you guys to hear this really quickly. And look, all I'm doing is looking. Listen, Kelly. I got to tell you, I'm not concerned what anybody says. I can't listen to a candidate and go off what they say, because anybody can say anything. We all know that there are more deceivers in church, and there are more preachers and pastors and priests that are going to feel the fire than people that aren't in the churches. So look, everybody could sing you a good song. I got to look at the actions. And what's concerning me about Micah are the actions that I am seeing while he's out here singing a song. So I'm going to listen to this. We want to listen to this because this is important. Here. Oops, that's, of course, the wrong one. So we're back that down, and we're going to do this. I want to hear what he says right here. Okay. This was from earlier today. All right. This is on the Kendall and Casey show, and this is after they've talked about all the rainwater stuff. All right. Casey is getting ready to talk about, well, you know, the Indiana Republican State Committee put this out. Now, listen, for those of you that were here last night, I said repeatedly, Beckwith and Braun did not put that mailer out. They were not responsible for that mailer. It was the Republican Party that was responsible for it. I gave them the benefit of the doubt. Now let's listen to here. Let's listen to hear what's said.
With crap all the time. People get hit with awful things all the time. And the idea that you are going to lay these horrible financial choices, which if Don wants to push it, we'll get into it tomorrow and I'll start reading all of them. If Don wants to keep this crap up, that somehow his mistakes are my fault, I'll be happy to read them. But the idea that Don is blaming a decade of horrible choices on the fact that he lost a job for a brief period of time, or trying to deflect or not be honest with people, that's gross, and that's why we're doing this today. If Don had just come clean, if he had just been honest, we wouldn't be doing this, and we gave him every opportunity to
Here we go.
Okay, so why did the Indiana Republican State Committee decide to put out that ad? You know what? We're going to ask somebody.
Yeah, Mike is going to join us at the top of next hour.
Yeah.
And
Wait. She said, so why did the Indiana State Republican Party put out that ad? If Rob would have then said, well, we're going to be talking to Todd Houston at the top of next hour. We're going to be talking to Roderick Bray at the top of next hour. I would have been like, yeah, that makes sense. When he says, well, we're going to be talking to somebody at the top of next hour, Micah will be in, I thought, what? What do you mean Micah will be in? Why would Micah be giving commentary on why the Republican State Committee would put that ad out? Why would that be happening? That doesn't make any sense to me. Now let's listen to what happens when Micah first comes in. Okay? Let's take a look and listen to what is first said when this first happens. All right, here we are. All right. This is soundbite 2.
You're listening to Rob Kendall
When we talk about sending money somewhere, we're talking about printing the money because we have no money.
and Casey Daniels
My government would never lie to me, would they?
on 93 WIPC.
Good morning. It is Thursday, October 17th. It's 6 minutes after 10. You're listening to Kendall and Casey on 93 WIBC. Rob, it was a busy day yesterday, not only in people's mailboxes, but on the internet and on a certain YouTube channel.
Casey, welcome to my life. What I mean by that is only in my life could a race for governor that I'm not a candidate in, that I'm not interested in being a candidate in, that I've never tried to be a candidate in, somehow I become the focal point of the race, and people are getting mad at me for things that they did.
That's right. So we're talking about that mailer that came out in regards to Don Rainwater. It was put out by the Indiana State Committee, the Republican Party, and they were bringing.
It was put out by the Indiana State Committee. Listen to me. That's the establishment, folks. All right? That's the establishment. All right? Let's go on.
Have some things from his past. And later in the evening, well, we did invite him to come on our show to address it.
Right. That mailer came out yesterday, and we talked about this in the first hour. You reached out to him for the first time in 5 years. We did not get a response from Donald Rainwater. I was on his social media pointing out, hey, we've invited him to come on, got no response. And then he goes on this podcast last night, and instead of just owning what took place, I mean, look, they're trying to paint it as it was some guy down on his luck who lost a job, and that did happen, it appears, at some point. But this is a laundry list of stuff. Much of it appears, now you don't know for sure because he won't come clean and own it, but much of it having nothing to do with the guy who went through a divorce or lost his job. It appears to be years upon years of bad fiscal management, of bad fiscal choices, and it becomes relevant because the guy doesn't have a voting record. So all we as voters have to operate off of is, how did you manage your life, your finances, the choices you made? And Rainwater goes on this podcast, and instead of just coming clean about it, he deflects, he plays victim, he tries to tell this sob story, and then most of the show, it seems like they launch into this thing about me.
So this is somebody who wants to be responsible for.
No. Back up there. Here, because here in just 1 minute, Mike is going to come on and answer to the main point. I forgot about all this. I thought this was earlier. So let me talk to you about this briefly. First of all, we were on for an hour and 38 minutes last night. Most of the show was not about Rob. Rob only got brought up when Rob was watching and then tweeted about what was going on. And now what kind of gripes me a little bit, and I talked to Rob a little bit earlier today, and I didn't mention this. I probably should have, but I'm not going to. It's weird because I've been on Rob's show before. I've been on Tony Katz before. I've been on Rob's show before, several times under a couple different shows. Have been on the Kendall and Casey show, and we've always been friendly with each other. And so it's weird to me that they keep kind of milly-mouthing around what, like, some podcast, like, we don't know who this is. What? Wait a minute. Why not just say where it's at? Like, are you afraid to drive anyone over to listen to it? Because let me be real clear about this. Don didn't not go on the show because he was afraid to say what he said in front of Rob, excuse me. Don didn't go on the show because the last time he was on the show, Rob treated him polite for an hour, talking to him. And then as Don was going down the elevator shaft, still in the building, Rob called him a lazy idiot on air. Now, listen to me. That's what I don't get. I understand being upset and not agreeing or having policy issues, even finding out about this and questioning Don about it if you so choose to do that. But calling Don a lazy idiot, some man who, reminder to folks that might not know this, Rob Kendall was his MC for the last 4 years. You know, me having him on and him doing those 3 town halls with us and us introducing him places and things, that's the thing that Rob did 4 years ago for him. This stuff all was in existence 4 years ago, and Rob didn't seem to care about it then. Why did Rob not think that this stuff about rainwater was relevant 4 years ago? Another segment in the show, Rob said, and you know, maybe the podcaster just didn't know to look this up. Dude, what? Like everybody that's 4 years old and older in Indiana knows to look on my case, bro. I am a trained investigator. Yeah, I look people up on my case. Yeah, I knew that Don Rainwater had some fiscal troubles 20 years plus ago, and I know it went on for a little bit of time. But I also know in the 25 years since that trouble, he has corrected the ship. He has corrected the ship. No, Tweety Bird, let me ask you something. And please understand, you don't have to answer this. And all you need to do is say yes or no. You don't need to get any more involved. Have you ever been divorced? Are you divorced? Have you been divorced? Or are you a child of divorce? Or do you know anyone like a sister, a brother, a sibling, a child, someone that's been divorced? Let me tell you something. I've been divorced twice. Okay. And the first time was my choice. The second time was not. Thank the Lord above that there were not biological children involved with either one of my divorces. There were children involved with the second divorce, and I am happy to say that my ex-wife and I have now made it through, and we're friends, and we chat. She watches the show from time to time, and there have been people that have actually come up to her because we got divorced after I started broadcasting, and people are like, "Oh my God, he's such a pain in the ass," and she would defend me. She would say, "No, I agree with him politically. Everything he says is right on." She watches the show a lot of times. She's really a fan of the Sproul stuff. But there were children involved with that. It was her children I'd been around for 10 years. And when we went through that divorce, I lost as a stepfather. I had no right to those children. And that was horrible. Absolutely, absolutely horrible. But I'm here to tell you, you don't go through a divorce in a day. You don't go through a divorce in a weekend. You don't go through a divorce in a summer. You don't go through a divorce in a year. Divorce, and now back up. You can get divorced in Indiana, I think, after 90 days. And if it's a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. My first divorce was easy as pie. No issue. No issue. All right. My first divorce was not like a rainwater divorce. It was also not like my father's second divorce. My father's been divorced 3 times. He had to pass away to get away from him. You know, he thank God he finally got away from those his ex-wives. I'll tell you, the repercussions from a divorce can last for years. the mental issues, financial issues. I'm going to tell you. When someone says, I went through a divorce, I lost a job, things got backwards, you're moving out, you got to still pay for the mortgage, your name's on the mortgage, you crash it, someone does that, house gets taken away, you own an apartment, you get behind on child support, whatever, all of that stuff can snowball really easily. And if rainwater kept stumbling every 4 or 5 years and 10 years, and it happened, and it was going in, and it was 2015, and it was 2018, it's 2020, 2022, maybe we look at it and maybe we say, whoa, there's a bigger issue here. But I'm going to tell you, to me, what's bigger is the fact that he had this issue that went on for years.
We've got commenters, and Tweety's issue is maybe there's some other secret besides divorce problems.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people know what it is that this huge bombshell that he's going to whip out tomorrow if rainwater doesn't come on to talk to him. What is the huge bombshell that's going to drop?
Oh, it's a bankruptcy.
Okay.
Oh, bankruptcy!
It's a bankruptcy. That's the big secret here, Tweety. He has a bankruptcy in his past. And for people that are spouting for Trump, who's declared bankruptcy, how many times Trump?
I don't know.
Bankruptcy?
More times than can be counted.
Obviously, a bankruptcy is not a big deal. I mean, my husband got laid off. He was laid off for 6 months. We had 2 kids. We lost the house, lost the car.
Pause. Hold on. This is very important. Pause real quick. I want you to come back to that. Wait a minute. This is also going to drop. So I was a little disingenuous because they're also going to be, I think this is going to be hitting mailboxes this weekend.
Oh, goody. Oh, yeah, I forgot.
In June of 1996, a young Donnie Rainwater. 1966, a young Donnie Rainwater colored outside the lines on this picture. How can Hoosiers vote for and trust this man when we know he did this? This is not an actual campaign advert, but it is right in line with the ignorant shit the Indiana State Republican Party would pull. By the way, Rainwater has our full support and endorsement. Vote Rainwater for governor of Indiana. So, yeah, that's there. But, yeah, okay. So, yeah, you filed bankruptcy. Now, I've not filed bankruptcy.
But here's the thing, though. Mm-hmm. He got laid off for 6 months.
Okay.
Lost everything, you know. We're miles behind on every bill, student loans, the house payments, the this, that, the everything. For 6 months, he didn't work. Mm-hmm. And we didn't get unemployment because, hello to Indiana. He joined the Army, went active duty. He was in the Army for 5 years before we finally bit the bullet and said, fuck it. We are never, ever, ever going to get out from under that mountain.
Yeah.
We will never be able to get it to go away. And so we filed bankruptcy.
Yep.
And it took 7 years from the layoff for it to be finalized.
Yep.
It took 18 months after we filed it for it to be finalized.
Yep.
But it took 5 years for us to get the guts to say, we can't do it. We can't.
Yeah. It's because it's a really sad and embarrassing, and
it's embarrassing.
Makes you feel
and
weird.
You're like, no, we can do this. We can fix. We fucked up, and we can make it right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very hurtful to the pride to say we can't. So that's the big bombshell. He's filed bankruptcy.
Yeah. And so Tweety Bird said, "How do you know this?" And number one, I can say because I looked Rainwater up So, I mean, it's not a secret. Anybody could have looked this up. Anybody's known this. His name's Donald Rainwater. Go to my case and look him up. He filed bankruptcy. I also know it because I talked to Rob today, and we talked, and I was like, hey, what's going on? And, you know, so like that happens, you know, that's the thing. But, you know, my mother was an investigator in the Delaware County Prosecutor's Office. My stepfather was a pharmacist. Pharmacists make good money. They filed bankruptcy. My dad was a business owner of a 110-year-old company. He filed bankruptcy. He made good money. You know, just that shit happens, man. It is what it is. It is what it is. Not a big deal, man. Like it blows me away. Now, look, okay. If Don was still stubbing his toe and running into things and having issues and he filed last year, I would be a little less like, maybe I could understand people talking about things or whatever with that. You know, like I could maybe see people questioning that. But my thing is, dude, it was the last big thing was like, you know, what 2009 or whatever. So
yeah, it was 2009.
When was 2009?
15 years ago.
You know, 15 years or so ago. So my situation I look at is, have they been able to right the ship? And let me be clear, Don is a happily married man with children and stepchildren that love and care for him. His wife is wonderful and loves him and cares for him. And
I don't think there's been anything in my case since 2009.
You know,
I'm not mistaken.
The
bankruptcy was the end of it.
Look at this. From what I understand, Rainwater's an IT guy now, probably pulling in $100,000. Let me ask Micah Beckwith something. Micah Beckwith, Don Rainwater served in the United States Navy for 8 years. You think maybe we could give honor where honor is due? You think we could, you know, look, I'm going to be honest.
Well,
I wouldn't compare Donald Rainwater to the soldiers that stormed Normandy. I would put them all in the military bracket, but I wouldn't even say that, you know, because he's not. He's not. He just simply was not that thing.
Yeah, Doc's Pop is great.
You know, yeah, Doc's Pop is good. What were you going to say?
The other thing that we have to keep in mind is that the divorce is in 1990, right?
Yeah.
Which is when he came out of the service.
Yeah, right.
And I'm if there are any service members in here, I think they would back me up in saying that the transition from military life to civilian life is very, very difficult.
Sure.
It took my husband 3 years to finally settle into civilian life and find a job that he was happy with, you know, that he could stomach doing, that he didn't feel disgusted by himself doing. Mm-hmm. It's a very hard transition. And so, I mean, he's not just dealing with the divorce, he's also trying to deal with the transition. That's a really shitty time in life for him, I bet.
Sure.
And like all went to hell.
Yeah. And like your situation, I mean, your husband is different than like a lot of other people. A lot of people go to the military and they do their 4 years, they do their 8 years, they're in, they're out, and it's no big deal. Still, it is a very big deal. Very, very, it deserves our respect. I didn't have the balls to sign up for the military. That's one of my greatest delights.
Doesn't matter.
You know, it's all the same. They did it. You know what I mean? So they get it. Your husband's a little bit different because he was like in the shit and involved with all of that. You guys were gone a lot. He was gone a lot.
Thank you for your service.
For the grace of God, go I. You guys could have very easily went down a path where you just said, you know what, screw it or whatever, and you guys could have got divorced, whatever. Thank God you didn't.
It was always a joke. It's funny you bring that up because it's always been a joke in our house.
Yeah,
my husband's infantry, so even before 9/11 happened, the unit my husband was with spent 5 to 6 months of every year in the field training or at schools.
Yeah.
So he wasn't home 5 to 6 months every year anyway.
Yeah.
So we used to joke for the 20 years we were in the service that anytime we would start getting sick of each other, he would go away, we would get a break, and by the time we came back, we actually liked each other again.
Right.
So the fact that we are still married, 7 years after his separation is kind of a miracle in and of itself.
Yeah. So it's just, to me, listen to me. We've got an elected prosecutor who's currently doling out charges to people who did time in a prison for burglary and theft as a felon. Under Indiana law, he should technically not be an elected official, but he happened to be one of those lucky people that he got the felony. It then reduced, and he then got an expungement, and it went away. And Madison County's Rodney Cummings has been an elected official for years and years and years. So are we to believe that, he's the chief law enforcement officer of Madison County, and he had a felony for
wait a second. I didn't think of that. Kendall and all of these other ones, they're big Trump people. Isn't Trump a felon now, technically?
Trump is a felon.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't think Rainwater's ever actually been charged with anything, though.
Yeah, we're not talking about criminal cases here. We're talking about, and look,
civil shit.
I get it. I understand how you can finance shit and deal with that. It's important. I got to talk to my wife in the middle of deployment on the phone after she had her first pay. Oh yeah, man.
I'm so sorry for that.
Yeah, that's just, horrible. Like it's a regret of mine that I didn't go into the military. Had I done that, I would have probably died because I would have been graduate. I was right after 9/11, so it would have been like, god awful. But I'm just saying, this whole thing is an absolute shit show. That being said, I do want to get to now.
Yes, Mr. Virtuous. Let's hear what Mr. Virtuous has to say.
Yes, yeah. Because remember, keep in mind, folks. She says the state party put this out. Why did they do that? And Rob says, let's find out. Let's talk to one of them and find out what do we get to hear here. Let's play that now.
7 million people in the state of Indiana, and we want to know, if you can't be responsible for your own finances, how are you going to govern over the state's finances? And then you're the problem?
It's always all about.
No, it's not always all about Rob. Listen. I know I'm a narcissistic too. Yeah, I get it. Look, Rob puts a mic in front of his mouth. He talks to people. He thinks people want to hear him. People do want to hear him. I do. I get it. I'm a Leo. I understand it.
It's down the WIBC hotline. Let's get the other side of things. He is the Republican nominee for Lieutenant Governor. Micah Beckwith joins us now. All right, Beckwith, as usual, people are mean to me for something I had absolutely nothing to do with.
I'm laughing because I think it's awesome.
Oh, well, thank you for your sympathy. I really appreciate that. Look, here, we talked about this in the first hour. Don Rainwater has made fiscal management of the state of Indiana a central part of his campaign. He doesn't have a voting record by which you can judge him on. So the only thing you can go on is his own fiscal management. And then when you're presented with this stuff, to not only not explain it, to deflect it, to play victim on it, and then blame the radio guy, that isn't exactly owning your baggage. It's not exactly owning up to the public or holding yourself accountable to say the way you say you want to the taxpayers if you're elected.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a good point. We've got to know who our candidates are. When I ran, I knew that I was going to get scrutinized. Every little aspect of my life, personal life, private life, public life was going to be scrutinized. And that's what you sign up for when you run for office. Now, I like Don. Don and I appreciate what he did in 2020. He's holding Republicans accountable. We need that. But Don has run for Senate. He's run for mayor. He's run for governor now twice. And he keeps like this is a different election. 2024 is not 2020, and Mike Braun is not Eric Holcomb. And Don keeps taking shots at Eric. He keeps taking shots at the Republican Party. And trust me, I have taken shots at the Republican Party. It's appropriate time to do that. There is always a place to hold people accountable. However, he keeps throwing punches, and at some point, now I'm not for the low blow tactics. This is not something that the state party ran by me, but at some point, you're going to get punched back. I mean, if you're going to be in the ring and you're going to start throwing stones in the glass house, well, just be ready when that house starts to crumble.
Well, wait a minute. If the state party didn't run this by him, then why is he giving the response that was teed up to be the response for why the state party filed this? If they didn't do that, I've got a real problem with that. And to say that Mike Braun isn't Eric Holcomb, they're cut from the same damn cloth, man. They're the same person. They are the same damn person. Braun is going to be Holcomb 2.0 or negative 2.0, or whichever, I don't know if it's better or worse. It's going to be the same thing. I don't get this. All right. So that's I just wanted to highlight that, but I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to be able to convince the legions of followers that Beckwith had going into the nomination. And I like and I respect Kelly, and I really like Janet, and I got a couple of the Micah Beckwith fans out there who I'm going to say, listen, I do not trust Beckwith. I like him as a person. There's some odd things he says that I don't agree with, but I can agree and disagree and we can be fine. I like him as a person. I think he would be an awesome youth pastor, adult pastor, whatever. Great person to be out there talking to JD. They could be some really good church buddies. I think he's completely lost as far as this candidate running. He is going to be given such a little small role of nothing that first of all, I don't think he's going to be even in a position to do much. But when you all walk away from me offended and mad at me, just do me a favor. Once you're disappointed, be man and woman enough to come back, because I always say this. I never say I told you so. I've had people leave, be pissed, friends turn into enemies that crawl back. I've got certain people. There's a person I talked to today, a female, some of you'll know her, who we've been mad at each other and left, and she's come back and talked. We've been mad and back and forth so many times I can't even count how many times we've been at war with each other. And right now the tide is high. And we'll be at it again at some point. That's just the nature of the game. But I don't ever tell people I told you so. I just say, welcome back. Let's get back to work. My thing is, for yourselves, just quit, first of all, saying 100%. Because you wouldn't say that you agree with your husband 100% of the time, or your parents or your brothers and your sisters or your kids. Nobody agrees 100% of the time. The only person you should be putting 100% of your trust in, if you're so inclined, is the Lord above. Definitely not Micah Beckwith, not Mike Braun. I don't put 100% of trust in Don Rainwater. And I don't even like everything Don Rainwater says. And I don't agree with everything Don Rainwater does. But I agree with enough of it. And I know that he's just normal enough to be someone that I could see in that position. The other big thing I got to talk about here, and we're going to get ready to wrap this up, is Beckwith launches into this idea that you can't vote for Rainwater. if you vote for Rainwater, you're going to be stealing the votes away from Braun. And McCormick is going to win. And she's going to take office as governor. And then immediately, Democrat McCormick, with a supermajority Republican state house and state senate, they're going to flock to her and pass all of her bills that's going to completely tear the state apart and make it a liberal bastion in the Midwest. Why would the Republican supermajority do that? Why would they do that? That makes no sense. You don't think they would fight her on everything and they would use that to then run their candidate? Because look, they do not like Braun. Braun got 38% of 17% voter turnout. What, Kate, did you say that was? That's 4%.
It's 6.8% of the voters in.
How much?
6.8.
7%. 6.8% of voters is what Braun got. So don't tell me that he is the Republicans' favorite. So they'll take in McCormick. The Republicans will challenge her for 4 years, and then they'll run one of their insider Republican establishment against her, and they'll snow right over her in 4 years because a Democrat won't win again. That's what they will do to her. Rainwater does not steal votes from anyone. He earns them. If you vote for Rainwater, you're voting for him because one of two things. Because he has earned your vote, or you're protesting against. He can't say it, but I'm going to. You can go to the voting booth and you can vote for the Twix. The left bar or the right bar, the same damn candy bar. That's what it is, folks. Left Twix, right Twix. Or you can vote for Rainwater, man. So, I don't know. Beckwith saying there at the end that, I'll work with anybody. When I said that Scott Alexander was establishment, and he's like, I don't care. Anybody, non-establishment, establishment, I'll work with anybody. I know. That's my problem. You'll work with anybody. Where is that big push that you told me at the beginning? I will not, I'm okay if a Democrat doesn't like me because I want to defeat if these Democrats, I don't want them, I'm fine at keeping them at bay. Well, wait a minute. Why would you not be? So you're either okay with standing your ground and telling the people who, cutting through the herd and saying, these people I like and these people I don't. But when it comes to calling out our side that needs called out, he seems weak on that. I'll get to Destiny Wells in 1 second. The last thing I want to say about this deal with Beckwith is dude, I'm sick to death of this leftist deal. A lot of people give Beckwith points because we're meshing all of the political theaters together. We are fighting our national fears and putting our political hopes into Beckwith, because Beckwith comes on and he talks about the EPA, which is a federal agency, And he talks about, listen, when we were talking about the establishment, and I was like, well, wait a minute, aren't there plenty of people on our side that we need to deal with? Why did he not bring up the Indiana Economic Development Corporation? Why did he not bring up cutting down those jokers? And why did he not talk about needing to take to task Scott Alexander, Roderick Bray, Todd Houston, Julie McGuire, and J.D. Prescott? He likes Prescott because Prescott is a church bro. Cool. See him on Wednesday night and Sunday night and Bible study. That doesn't mean he should be a legislator. My thing is, yeah, I'll stand with Beckwith all day long on the Nationals front fighting leftist. We can fight leftists left and right, and left. But here in Indiana, we got a whole bunch of rightists that we need to deal with first. We need to clean our own house. And when Beckwith can start to have a serious conversation with me about what he's going to do to clean, don't talk to me anymore about the leftist. All right. Here in the state of Indiana, we need to deal with the Republicans that are out of whack, that are out of balance. And once we do that, then we can take the fight to those 10 Democrats at the State House. Yeah. So Kate says she likes Destiny Wells. I'm not a fan of it's really, it's one of those things that people, this is like the Sons of Anarchy or Breaking Bad. When you're watching these shows, you're rooting for the bad guy. So you've got to, or The Sopranos, Tony Soprano. You want him to win, but he's a bad guy. He's got good qualities, bad qualities. Todd Rokita has qualities that I like, but he's so swampy. He's so swampy. So I'm not a big fan of Todd Rokita. I respect Destiny Wells for her service. I thank you for her service. I think she's done and said some scary things. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna leave that one blank. I'm gonna leave when I vote. When I vote for that, I'll leave it blank. It's gonna be really close. To me, that's gonna be closer than the governor race. But I think Todd's gonna pull it out. So whatever. But that's that. I don't know. Time will tell. Look, bottom line is it's amazing to me that people can have such a big problem with all these politicians and how things have been done. And then someone comes along singing your song and you're just immediately ready to be like, I believe. I had to really vet out Rainwater. I didn't go back and listen to some of the old interviews. It wasn't all love and hugs and kisses. He was just another person that I was like, I don't know, this dude, he's a liar, not a liar. I don't know, dickhead. I don't know. We'll have to find out. And he was somebody that through his actions, he grew on me. I know, Glover. I know that is, that really sucks. Glover, I don't know if you're on Facebook or Twitter, but if so, you ought to send me a friend request or give me a follow on Twitter or send me a friend request or whatever. I'll look in whatever. There's my Facebook there. Facebook.com/Bilbrey 318. Kristopher H. Bilbrey. Christopher's with a K. And then Twitter is just Bilbrey Live, Bilbrey Live. But that's where we are. Oh, the other thing. Here's the thing. Rainwater will be on 93.1 tomorrow with Hammer and Nigel at 4:30. So he's not like dodging anyone, man. He's just not ready to go sit in front of a person that until last week, even when Rob picked Braun, I think Don still looked at Rob as a friend. He's just like, we don't agree politically. He's not picking me politically. He doesn't like my policy. And then as he was leaving on the air, he called him a lazy idiot. But he didn't even do it to his face. He did it when he left. He called him a lazy idiot. So I can understand that. I can understand saying, I'm not coming back for you to smile at my face and stab me in the back as I walk out the door. I understand that. Will he never go back on there? I don't know. He might do it again. This is politics. You don't ever count anybody out. It's like a soap opera, man. You can have political deaths, and then 2 seasons later, they're back, played by somebody else. You know, I don't ever count anything out in politics. But I could see where he would be. I could understand. You know, I don't know. All right, we're off here. I've been talking for too long. My voice is starting to go away. Hey, Kate, what do you got going on tomorrow? Is tomorrow a night you can do? We'll be on tomorrow, 9 p.m. We're going to do Muncie. We're going to talk about the Redevelopment Commission and the Finance Commission meeting. We'll start with the Redevelopment Commission meeting. And at some point, I guess we need to start talking national too. We will look a little bit at the Kamala interview to end. I'll go in and cut that down, and we'll get that ready. Share the show with everyone you know. Feed the algorithm, people. That would be helpful. Go and dance your little fingers across the screen and click that like. That would be fantastic. We would really, really, really appreciate it. Oh, real briefly, I do got to say, for those of you that did not know, the Democrat, the Republican Lincoln Day party in Delaware County is canceled. Join us for a fun evening celebrating our local Republican Party and elected officials. Lincoln Day dinner Saturday, October 19th, 2024 at the Knights of Columbus, 3600 West Purdue Road, Muncie, Indiana. It has been canceled. Looks like the absolutely, completely wonderful guy, our state treasurer, Daniel Elliott, who's a wonderful guy, but is just an absolute snooze fest. Looks like his evening is now a little less tied down. I can't believe he's the biggest poll that we could get. And I'm going to tell you the reason that this got canceled, folks, we're going to talk about this more tomorrow, was because of the lack of interest that people had to attend the event. The lack of interest. Ed Carroll and Jessica Piper, the Delaware County family. The Delaware County GOP is single-handedly, I guess it's double-handedly, quadruple-handedly. They both got 2 hands, so 4 hands. They're using all 4 of their hands to single-handedly destroy the Republican Party. Good night. God bless. It's been a day. Have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll talk about that more tomorrow. Good night.